Hello everyone, as you have seen the title of this video, yes, my father is a Windrush victim, and it's probably been the most heartbreaking thing I've ever had to see him go through. It affected me as well. My father brought me up on his own in this country, and he's always been a part of this country. Came in the early 60s on a British Commonwealth passport, and ever since he stayed. So how can he be told recently he's not British? You tell me. So to start the story, my nan was here already and working, and she sent for her son to come into the country, which is my father. He was only 3 or 4, came in on his own baby passport, British passport, and he got here and he stayed. He went to school here, he got his national insurance number like everyone else. He worked, no problem. Further education, no problem. Voted, lived, enjoyed, made a family, had hard times in England. This is where he lived. And there was never a reason to question that. You know, the voting card would come in. He had to apply for different benefits when he lost his job, like JSA, tax credits, income support. He has an NHS number. He's a part of this country, just like most people are, and has been here for over 50 years. But recently that all changed, and the kind of welcoming place that he has grown up and lived in most of his life has become a place that's a very hostile environment. My father applied for a passport some years ago and it was rejected, and he was very confused, but at the time he just thought that he'd contact the Trinidad Embassy, contact the Home Office, and the Home Office seemed to think that because he'd been here getting benefits, they were quite shocked and said, yeah, you know, you're British. The voting card came in, benefits are fine, jobs. It seemed like that was just an error on the passport office. But no. Again, later, he applied for a second passport. The reason's because it's 2016, and in 2016, you have to have a proof of your right to abode. My father had got a job and he was very happy about it, but the government unfortunately fines companies if someone doesn't prove their right to work. My father needed further documentation. He called up the passport office and was told, yeah, Mr. Williams, we can see, yeah, you came in on a British passport, a Commonwealth passport, you've been here, can't see it being a problem, apply, come down to Peterborough, everything will be fine. No, it wasn't. As my father watched other people receive their passports, he was told he would not get one. And that his fees would be kept, like the first one, for administration. He didn't even get a refund. Passports aren't cheap. So now the panic sets in. My father needs to prove his right to work here. He's very confused. I've always been here. I've got my benefits here. I've brought up my daughter here. I've worked here. I've lived here. I had my schooling here. What is going on? People we seeked advice from. We called the Trinidad Embassy. We called the Home Office asking the same questions, and they said back, does your dad get benefits? Has he got a national insurance number? How long has he been here? Yeah, he must be. Trinidad doesn't understand why he would be Trinidadian, because they didn't go independent. They weren't independent when he came here, so they're thinking, so you've been in England all your life, most of your life, except for the first few years, but they're saying you're Trinidadian. Wait, a citizen. Wait a minute, that's not right. The Home Office. If you can get someone at the Home Office that even understands the history of this country, you're very lucky. It took me a long time. But when I finally did, the gentleman was astonished and thought, well, how are you not British? Most of the younger people didn't even know anything about the Commonwealth and the countries that used to be a part of it. So that wasn't really going to be helpful. We were still in limbo. Everything, from the benefits office to every other local government and the authorities, everything came through as British, but he's not British. When we went further, of course, because my father couldn't get a British passport, the deadline was coming up that if he couldn't prove it, the employer would have to let him go and he'd lose his job. Panic, stress, there's more upsetting words for it. You suddenly realise, wait a minute, I've been here my whole life, and now, what am I? When we appealed the passport office, and when we spoke to the Home Office, we were told to write a letter about it, stating as much evidence as we can to show that he'd been here, and to show, like, you know, things like NHS number, anything to kind of indicate that he was, his length of time. And when we wrote the first letter, the reply back was, no, you're not British, you're Trinidadian, and that's it. And then this at the end was, can you prove you've been here the whole time? Who can prove that? Can you? Can you prove every single year you've been here? Well, there is one way, so make sure you guys do this if you are suffering at all with this problem. Go on the HMRC website, and if you can, I think, I'm not sure if everyone can do this, get your national insurance payments. My father's were from 18 years old up to 2016. It was 55 years of him being in the country. But we could prove from when he started working that he was here the whole time. And that, I exhausted the law. I said, you know, he's been here for so long. I said he was here before 1973. Didn't matter what I said, didn't matter what I did. The answer was no. Mr. Williams is not British. And when we first tried to prove how long he'd been here, we were rejected. Not enough evidence. I was in absolute tears. What am I going to do? And the last inkling was the national insurance. And luckily, I printed all of it off from 18 to 2016. And we got back, okay, you can have a residency card, pay hundreds of pounds, or tough, you're losing the job. Luckily, we had friends to help us. We haven't got that kind of money. I was studying, trying to change and better my life. But this was just always in the back of my mind. Worrying. I can't even express to you how it feels to not only be in limbo, but to believe you're something you're not. Watching my father go from being welcomed in this country to hostile environment of people like, well, you're not, you know, you're not one of us anymore. You don't deserve these rights anymore. Doesn't matter how much you've given. Doesn't matter. That's it. You're not one of us anymore. And that is horrible. I can't even express how that would have made him feel. But I know there was nights where I was just, when we were appealing the Home Office before we got his residency card, where I was just in tears. My closest friends could see that we weren't ourselves, the jolly people that we used to be, and I'm only just getting there. I don't know how long it's going to take my father. But we got the residency card that said he wasn't British. And then we had to work with Trinidad, or try to, a country that he's not really lived in at all, to try see what we can, how we can go from here, because obviously he can't get a British passport now. What can we do? There wasn't really a lot they could help us with, because, you know, all of it's here, and they were still confused about why he was a Trinidad citizen. So we left it, you know, just lucky that he's not getting deported. Luckily it wasn't any serious. Lucky he kept his job. We weren't losing our house. Lucky, we said. But it took its toll. My father wasn't well, and due to different circumstances, which is definitely high stress. After going back to work after some time off, my father had a heart attack, and luckily he's still here. And when I spoke to the doctors, of course, there's different attributes, but stress kills. And this is stress. Not knowing where you belong. Do you belong here? You've lived, given, raised children, made family, made a home, made friends, been a part of the community. Given taxes, done everything like everyone else, but you're not welcome. What? It's absolutely absurd. But we dealt with it. At least we got the card. We know, we've seen that some people didn't even get that, and how many people have just been pushed out of their own home, families torn apart over procedural error. How absurd. But after the heart attack, my father went on SSP, and his employer would pay that. It's not much, but yeah, he got it. He was entitled. And then at the beginning of this year, it was exhausted, and my father had to claim universal credit. So of course, because he's not British, he went into the universal credit meeting. He had to show his identification. The guy that interviewed him had interviewed him before, when he had to claim benefits when he lost his job, because unfortunately Comic PLC went down. The guy was like in shock, because now he's having to do an identification meeting on my father, questioning him about where he's from, what's he doing, how long's he been here, can he prove he's been here the last 2 years. These kind of really awkward questions for someone that's been here for over 50 odd years. And then he did the next meeting, which is the circumstances of why my dad needs universal credit because the SSP is exhausted. And then we heard nothing. And it's now. And that was at the end of March. And we're still waiting. But actually, no, we did hear something. We had a phone call, and my father was told the reason it's taking so long for the decision maker is because he's not British. We've explained the Windrush situation, and now apparently he is. But my father has no evidence now to prove he's British. We have the rent on our backs because we've got, we could potentially lose our home. We've got bills going through the roof. He hasn't received any money. It's stress. It's upsetting. And the media's not helping. To basically be... If you'd have asked me 15 years ago if this ever would have happened, if my father would have ever felt completely unwelcome in a place that he lived and grew up, I would have said, you must be joking. No way. He's always been here. He votes, he does everything. What's the difference? What? Now we're in limbo. And we don't know how long this will take. We don't trust the system. I don't trust it. How can I trust it when today the Tories have voted a blocked vote to release secret documents to launch a review? How can I trust when they got rid of documentation that proved that people came into the country? How can I when there is hardly any accountability? Maybe Amber Rudd lost her job, but our MP had something to do with this as well, Theresa May, and she just gets to swan on. How could this have happened? And the problem is that it's not them that sees that this completely ruined the last few years of my family. I'm sorry. The reason I didn't do a video sooner is because this is really difficult to talk about, and it's changed us, and hopefully we can be the jolly people that we were before. But this video, I hope you can see how much, and we were lucky apparently to get the residency card, so God, what happened to half those people that were ripped from this country because of procedural error? I can't even imagine how they must be feeling, because to see how upsetting it is to watch what my dad's been through and still going through, with the confusion now of what does he do next and the money lost. And it's not about the money, it's about, unfortunately, we're in a system where you need to pay bills and rent and council tax and water, and you need to eat. My father's a diabetic, he's coming from a heart attack. It's we try our best, but this is where we're at now. We have a Home Office appointment coming up, and we're going to see where it goes from there. We're being told in the media he's British again, so... But I will say one thing. After being treated that way, I don't know when my father's ever going to feel welcome again in this country. And a personal note, which is my view, are any of us safe if this procedural error can just quietly vacate you out of this country? There is no accountability. It all gets swept under the carpet, and I've lost so much more trust in this government, and each family like myself and more affected by this deserve to be treated correctly, because the last few years have been absolute hell. So that is us. I will update a video. Please, if you're having problems, go on the HMIC website, and if you can prove if you've been paying national insurance, print it all out when they're asking you to prove how long you've been here. I asked my father for him, in his words, to tell you how he feels. So the next clip is going to be how my dad feels after how he's been treated the last few years. And I can say that anyone that knows my dad knows he's a reasonable person, and he'll help anybody that he can. This has been a traumatic event, and I don't know what's going to fix it, but at least I hope that the promises that have been made when I did talk to the Home Office, that he is British, he will get a passport, and he will get compensation. I hope those promises are true, because if not, what can we trust now?
Well, after living here for 57 years, and always, as far as I was concerned, I was always British, because I came on a British passport. Then all of a sudden, now to be told I'm not British, not being allowed to have a passport. Everywhere I go, people are looking funny at me when I go claim benefits. It's like I'm a stranger, I don't deserve to be here, I'm not entitled to get anything. And just hearing you're not British, then if I'm not British, who am I? Why am I in this country? Why am I in a country that doesn't accept me when I came here on a British passport in the first place? When I brought up my children here, paid taxes, paid national insurance, and just to be treated like I've just come in the country. Makes me feel like, where do I belong? You know, why am I here? Is this what they call British justice? That you be here all your life and then be told, just because they feel like it, that you don't belong here, or you shouldn't be here, or we're not British because we've chosen you not to be British. It's made me not be able to sleep, restless, worrying, not knowing where the future takes me.
Before we go, people like this are your friends, your family, people you've had relationships with, people you see every day, people you work with, people you truly care about. We're all people. No one deserves to be treated like this. They've ripped the home out of so many people. So this is my Windrush video. I will do an update as things continue. Anyone else that's suffering with this, please keep hope, and fingers crossed, just hope everything works out. That's bye from me.